Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening. Thanks for choosing Big Fox News. I'm Nick Smith. New York State Police were led on a multi-county chase that ended in Painted Post. Big Fox News' Matt Kleindus joins us from Corning with details on the chase and more information about what led police to chase their suspect in question.
Good evening, Nick. A suspect is in custody tonight after evading police while they were trying to conduct a routine traffic stop. It was an eventful 4th of July weekend for New York State Police after chasing a suspect through the southern tier. According to state police, they tried pulling over a driver along I-86 in Chemung County. The driver failed to comply and sped away with police giving chase. State police determined that the suspect was driving a stolen car while in pursuit. The chase then spilled over into Steuben County, where the suspect drove towards Corning Painted Post Middle School. The suspect then crashed into a fence behind the school, where he was arrested by state police. The suspect was arrested for stealing the car, reckless endangerment, and driving while impaired. Matt Kleindus, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
First responders were called to Seneca Lake for a near-drowning incident yesterday afternoon. According to police, a 29-year-old man was swimming with friends in the lake and was pulled ashore when he was caught underneath a boat. Once on land, the victim was airlifted to Strong Memorial Hospital. The Yates County Sheriff's Office says the man is in fair condition. Steuben County GOP Chairman Joe Simplinsky is launching a bid for Congress in 2022. In a Facebook post, the Elmira native touted his southern tier roots and his experience to serve New York's 23rd district. Simplinsky previously worked as an aide for Congressman Tom Reed, who has represented the southern tier since 2010. Tom Reed announced he will not seek re-election following sexual misconduct allegations by a former lobbyist. A recent spike in attacks targeting the LGBTQIA community in New York City has many worried. Briella Tomasetti has the story.
Every time we're oppressed, every time we're knocked down, every time we're shamed, we just got to keep fighting the good fight, because that's all we can do.
A powerful message from Brooklyn barber Ednita Lee. Lee works at Camera Ready Cuts, a black-owned LGBTQ barbershop. On June 21st, surveillance video caught someone tearing down a rainbow flag in front of the business, throwing it to the ground, and then riding away on a scooter.
The next day I came in my day off to hang it back up. So, we didn't let it keep us down too long at all, really.
It's the latest in a string of anti-gay incidents across the city. Cops are on the lookout for a suspect who slugged a 22-year-old man in the head while hurling homophobic insults at him, right around the corner from New York City's iconic Stonewall Inn.
I have experienced hate based on not even knowing me, just assuming you know who I am.
Another man is in the hospital after reportedly being called an anti-gay slur near Washington Square Park, then being jumped and attacked. According to a GoFundMe page set up for the victim, his jaw was broken in 2 places, the violence reducing some people to tears.
It's really, really heartbreaking to see that people hate so much.
In 2021, in a modern day society, there's no need for hate of any kind.
Openly gay city council member Daniel Drum says he fears for his own safety.
It's something that we as LGBTQ people have learned to live with. We always have to look over our shoulder when we're walking down the street, just to be sure that we're safe.
And back at Camera Ready Cuts, the boss is asking whoever's responsible to please simply come forward.
They would much rather have them sit in their chair, give them a cut, and just try and get to the bottom of what made them feel like they needed to do that to somebody else's property and what they're going through,
Anyone with more information in regards to these incidents can call the NYPD Crime Stoppers hotline at 1-800-577-TIPS. An investigation by the Hate Crime Task Force is ongoing.
Health officials are concerned about the number of coronavirus cases in states with low vaccine rates. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention released new data looking at states with vaccination numbers lower than the overall U.S. rate. More than 47% of Americans are fully vaccinated in the U.S. Researchers say states with fewer residents vaccinated are seeing infection rates 3 times higher on average. Even more worrisome, 10 states saw cases increase more than 25% over the past 7 days compared to the week before. 9 of those states have a smaller share of vaccinated residents than the U.S. overall. Search crews are back at work at the site of the Surfside building collapse after the remaining parts of that partially collapsed condo was demolished overnight. Officials hoping the removal will make it safer for rescue teams to expand the search on the debris pile. All this as Elsa makes aim at Florida, where tropical storm warnings and watches are in place. Paul Verkaman is in Surfside, Florida with the latest.
We are fighting against the clock. Each day that passes reduces the chances to find somebody alive.
Search and rescue crews are back at work in Surfside after a late-night demolition. In just seconds, a major hurdle in the search and rescue in Surfside gone. A demolition crew taking down what was left of Champlain Towers South, following concerns the structure was unstable and endangered rescuers on the ground, and fears it wouldn't hold up against powerful winds from approaching Tropical Storm Elsa.
It's eliminated a looming threat, a dangerous threat for our rescue workers.
For much of the weekend, the search through the pile of debris was paused as engineers secured the site and prepared for the demolition. More than 100 people are still unaccounted for.
I said to the families 2 days ago that the chances to find somebody alive is close to zero. I'm realistic, but we are still full of hope.
Meanwhile, South Florida is gearing up for Elsa. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis declaring a state of emergency for 15 counties, including Miami-Dade County. DeSantis saying Surfside wasn't expecting to see the worst, but the town could still see strong winds and heavy rain.
We're prepared to deal with the impacts of the tropical storm in the Keys and on the west coast of Florida, and then obviously we're going to continue with the mission in Surfside.
Almost 20 years of fighting, some 2,300 American troops dead, and more than $2 trillion spent on wartime efforts. President Biden is putting an end date on America's longest war and ending deployment to Afghanistan. Phil Mattingly has more.
It's time for American troops to come home.
Tonight, America's longest war is finally coming to an end. President Joe Biden standing in the same exact spot where President George W. Bush launched operations in Afghanistan nearly 2 decades ago.
On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
Biden tonight announcing to the world he will bring U.S. combat troops home by the 20th anniversary of the worst terror attack on U.S. soil.
We went to Afghanistan because of a horrific attack that happened 20 years ago. That cannot explain why we should remain there in 2021.
A decision officials described as months in the making, with Biden soliciting views from across his administration and global allies, and coming to this conclusion.
I'm now the 4th United States president to preside over American troop presence in Afghanistan. 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. I will not pass this responsibility on to a 5th.
A momentous decision wrought with potential pitfalls. The U.S. intelligence community just this week explicitly stating the, quote, Afghan government will struggle to hold the Taliban at bay if the coalition withdraws support. Biden making clear the U.S. will continue diplomatic and humanitarian support, but breaking sharply from the driving force of past withdrawal timelines.
We cannot continue the cycle of extending or expanding our military presence in Afghanistan, hoping to create ideal conditions for the withdrawal and expecting a different result.
Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell sharply criticizing the move.
Apparently, we're to help our adversaries ring in the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks by gift wrapping the country and handing it right back to them.
And issuing a warning from a similar decision in the not-so-distant past.
Our president should remember what happened when the Obama administration let political considerations rush a retreat from Iraq. Total chaos and bloodshed and ISIS.
But Biden's decision went beyond just bringing troops home. Instead, officials say it's a reevaluation of U.S. defense priorities, one with a central focus on China. The stakes underscored at a hearing today with top intelligence officials.
China increasingly is a near-peer competitor, challenging the United States in multiple areas while pushing to revise global norms in ways that favor the authoritarian Chinese system.
With intelligence officials highlighting North Korea, Iran, terror groups, and an increasingly aggressive Russia as major issues. It's a daunting picture for a team still inside its first 100 days in office. But as Biden walks slowly through Arlington Cemetery's Section 60, the resting place of many of those killed in America's wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, he showed no hesitation or discomfort in his decision.
Was it a hard decision to make, sir?
No, it wasn't.
For a president who was pressed to leave Afghanistan for more than a decade, it was one a long time coming.
To me, it was absolutely clear.
Still ahead tonight, the CDC reporting a sharp decline in the number of breast and cervical cancer screenings, leading some to worry about what that may mean for health in the future.
When we find cancer at an early stage, we have a much better chance of beating it.
A look at the numbers and hear from health leaders who are concerned about the lack of testing when we come back.
Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. A warmer day today with temperatures soaring into the mid to upper 80s. In Elmira, it was about 7 degrees warmer this afternoon than it was yesterday. 9 degrees warmer in Corning, about 12 degrees warmer in Watkins Glen as well as in Bath. We do have a cold front that will be approaching our area. Initially, we're going to be in the warm sector of the system, so that means that temperatures will be rising on Tuesday and Wednesday. But once that cold front comes through, we are expecting a little bit cooler conditions for the end of the week, but we still have rain chances. Out ahead of that cold front, with that tropical air moving northward, we are expecting a few showers and possibly a few thunderstorms in the afternoon, just given the heat and the humidity. And so chances of rain will start on Tuesday. During the day, I think at least in the early part of the day, we are going to see some sunshine and then increasing clouds by the afternoon. Showers and thunderstorms will be possible throughout the afternoon. But temperature readings around 79 degrees at 8 o'clock, warming up to around 89 by noon, and we'll stay in the 80s through the rest of the afternoon. So let's take a look at our future radar, where we're finding quiet weather for tonight, but then there could be a stray shower or two early tomorrow morning, heading into Cornell and Bath, and then a line of showers and thunderstorms move through in the evening hours. By 10 o'clock, it looks like there could be some moderate rain in Corning as well as in Elmira, getting in on the action as well as in Hornell and Bath. And then this line moves through in the overnight Tuesday, and then waking up to a few isolated showers early on Wednesday, and there could be a few isolated thunderstorms in the afternoon out ahead of that cold front. So as we head into your Thursday, increasing rain chances, scattered showers, and a few thunderstorms will be possible throughout the day, as that cold front will be right over the Twin Tiers. So here's a look at your forecast. Tonight, temperatures drop down to around 69 degrees in Elmira, around 70 degrees in Corning, a little bit warmer in Watkins Glen at around 72. Partly cloudy skies. It will be warm. It will be humid. And then we're going to start off with some sunshine tomorrow. There could be a few showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon, but it is going to be a little bit warmer than today, with highs close to around 90 degrees in Corning as well as in Elmira. Your extended forecast calls for temperatures that will stay warm on Wednesday, and then once that cold front comes through, we're going to see those temperatures drop down into the upper 70s, so a 10-degree difference from Wednesday. And with drier air moving in behind that cold front, that will allow for cooler mornings on Saturday and Sunday with lows in the 50s. But expect that warming trend to begin again by early next week.
A new report is putting numbers to an early pandemic problem. The CDC says the number of screenings for breast and cervical cancer took a sharp decline, and that could have some serious repercussions down the road. Mandy Gaither has the numbers in today's Health Minute.
It's confirmation of what many doctors feared.
With less screenings, we're going to miss things.
In a new report, the CDC says in April 2020, the total number of breast cancer screenings through the agency's early detection program dropped by 87% and 84% for cervical cancer. That's compared with the previous 5-year averages for that month. Atlanta OBGYN Dr. Sujatha Reddy says these screenings are crucial to saving lives.
When we find cancer at an early stage, we have a much better chance of beating it.
The report also highlights another concern. Women in racial and ethnic minority groups who had low incomes and decreased access to medical services were especially impacted early in the pandemic.
With schools not opening, a lot of women had to stay home to take care of their children. Thereby, they couldn't enter the workforce.
Dr. Reddy says women who were already behind on screenings should make an appointment now.
We're taking every precaution to protect our patients. So it is absolutely safe, and it's actually beneficial and good for you to resume those screenings.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The first phase of Canada's gradual border reopening begins at midnight Eastern Standard Time. The change allows some fully vaccinated travelers to enter Canada without a 14-day quarantine. But as Annie Bergeron-Olivet tells us, the restrictions on who's eligible to enter Canada are still strict.
After nearly 16 months of travel restrictions, border measures are finally starting to relax. Starting Monday at midnight, Canadians, permanent residents, international students, and other essential travelers fully vaccinated with Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, or Johnson & Johnson will not have to quarantine or isolate for 14 days. Instead, they'll take a PCR test on arrival and await the result in self-isolation at home.
I see this opening up in a rheostat form, not a light switch on and off, but just gradually. And tomorrow is the first day of that. And I envision this to continue as Canadians keep getting that second vaccine.
Under the new rules, tourism is still prohibited, as is any non-essential travel to Canada. There are also no changes for partially vaccinated individuals. Youth under 18, though, and adult dependents traveling with their parents will be able to avoid hotel quarantine, but they'll still have to isolate at home for 14 days.
I don't think it's a huge problem. Clearly, children can be infected. They can be asymptomatically infected. But again, I think there's not going to be a large number of people.
The next stage of the border reopening could come as early as July 21st, when the current Canada-U.S. border restrictions expire. Asked Friday whether the closure will be extended, the Prime Minister said it's too soon to say.
When we start reopening, so Americans and others who are fully vaccinated come into Canada, will depend on how this goes, on the data we collect, on how we're able to keep Canadians safe.
With more states opening up, experts say the supply chain is starting to get back to normal, and the price you pay for lumber is going down. Jessica Babb reports.
The price of lumber is getting lower.
I'm not sure where they originally started at, but they have seen a pretty significant drop.
We're seeing more supply in the system to satisfy the demand.
Nationally, you're getting a lot more bang for your buck.
But in the case of plywood, in my understanding, that number has come back down probably in the $40 to $50 range.
Locally, not every store is seeing a drop that big just yet. At the Home Depot in North Fort Myers,
So they've been ranging from about $4 to $5 cheaper a board.
the demand hasn't dropped. Shoppers like Michael Silva are still loading up on lumber.
Still higher. Hopefully the price going back to normal.
Now with a potential storm on the horizon, I have seen some more DIY people coming in, picking up some boards just to protect their houses.
Tom Smythe with FGCU says if the demand gets even greater, the prices could climb.
Any price increases that you might see as a result of the impending storm, they're not going to last.
If that is the case, he says any price increases would likely be smaller than what we've seen.
You know, we would definitely not want to raise prices because of a storm. We wouldn't do that. The only way that we charge more is if we have to pay more for it.
Something Home Depot manager Art Safer says you shouldn't worry about.
I feel confident that it'll continue to go down. I don't know that it's going to go down super quick, but even if it's a couple dollars a week, that continues to add up.
The company behind the Keystone Pipeline is suing the Biden administration for $15 billion over the cancellation of its project. TC Energy Corporation is claiming that the U.S. government breached its free trade obligations when it pulled the project's permit. The pipeline, which was being built to carry oil from the tar sands of Canada to the U.S., has been the target of environmentalists for years. The legal argument says TC Energy is eligible to recover economic damages as part of the NAFTA agreement between the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. The company says the Keystone XL pipeline cancellation is forcing it to lay off thousands of union workers. Big changes ahead at Amazon. Jeff Bezos has officially stepped down from his role as CEO, effective today. July 5th is the date that Amazon was incorporated back in 1994. The internet giant made Bezos one of the richest people in the world. He made the announcement during the company's annual shareholder meeting in May. Bezos will hand the reins over to Andy Jassy. who's been at Amazon for nearly 25 years and currently runs Amazon Web Services. Bezos said Jassy will be an outstanding leader. Bezos will take the title of Amazon's executive chair, where he says he'll focus his energy and attention on new products and early initiatives. We're getting to listen to the tense moments when a pilot had to deploy his single-engine plane's parachute to make an emergency landing in a river. Alex Howard explains how this type of emergency landing is made possible through a new life-saving technology.
Sorry, say the last again? Zulu Whiskey, 100 emergency. I have a stuck throttle. I can't add any power. 100 Zulu Whiskey, roger. Any assistance I can provide?
After a long flight from North Carolina last night, the pilot of this single-engine plane realized over the river that he couldn't make the runway.
Power going towards the water. Zulu Whiskey, say again? Towards the water. We're going to go down in the water. We're going to pull a chute.
This parachute you see lowering the pilot and his passengers safely down is actually something innovative, an exclusive feature of the Cirrus SR-22.
The safety of the whole airplane parachute is a big appeal, if not to the pilot, to the wife of the pilot.
Today, Murray is flying from Fort Myers to Key West in a plane equipped with a parachute just like this, and for a good reason.
I'm going to fly it to Key West today, and a good portion of that flight's over water. There's not a good option to land over the water, right? So the parachute is a great out.
An out that ultimately can make all the difference when all else fails. You feel like what happened yesterday, that chute ultimately saved lives?
No doubt about it. If you're above 600 feet and something happens, you still have time to troubleshoot, look for options, find a place to land it without power or whatever. But if you can't do that, you can pull the chute.
4, 3, 2, 1, begin!
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. Champion eater Joey Chestnut broke his own world record this 4th of July, devouring 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes. Yeah. He took the Mustard Belt prize by eating one more hot dog than last year, breaking the previous record of 75. This was Chestnut's 14th win in 15 years at the Nathan's Famous International Hot Dog Eating Contest, which is televised live on ESPN. The second place winner, Jeffrey Esper, was 26 hot dogs and buns behind. After last year's contest was held at a private location due to the pandemic, the holiday tradition returned to its Coney Island home on Sunday. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. Have a great night.